Hey y'all, hi. So today I am going to share with you a technique that I use when I'm shopping for clothes, although now that I think about it, it could apply to anything. But I'm going to be talking about it through the lens of clothes because that's where it has the most bearing and the biggest effect for me. A technique that I use when I'm shopping for clothes that I believe has helped me save more money, like vastly more money, and make better choices than any of the other many techniques that I use to kind of keep myself on track in my quest for fewer, nicer things. My name is Hannah. I'm actually a writer. I'll link my book at the top of the description box down below. I also make these YouTube videos about aesthetics, and you know, if you like it, I hope you'll subscribe. Let's go ahead and get right into the meat of this video. So I'm going to be talking mostly about clothes, but a second to talk about the makeup. I call this grungy fall glamour, and I'm really feeling myself. This is actually a full face of Merit, and Merit has sponsored me today, which is the best because you know I love this brand. It's a minimalist vegan beauty brand that makes non-comedogenic products, and the formulas are just impeccable. These days, most of the time, I just want a polished, natural look, but sometimes I want to turn up the drama, and Merit's versatile formulas are perfect for all of that. So I primed my skin with Merit's 2 skin prep products. My longtime favorite, Great Skin, which is a bi-phase serum, very hydrating, very plumping, and the new Great Skin Moisturizer, a lightweight cream that blurs and preps the skin for makeup. Then I applied the Minimalist, a light creamy complexion product that looks like real skin. I like to mix chiffon and ceramic, which were both added when Merit expanded the shade range last month. Yay! For this sooty, smudgy, didn't try too hard, soft matte wash of color on the eyes, I used the Solo Shadow in Brune. It's a buildable cream to powder shadow that looks amazing every time. This has actually emerged as my favorite color of Solo Shadow, and of course I finished it off with Merit's Clean Lash Mascara. I glossed up my skin even more with Day Glow Highlighter, which gives a dewy, balmy sheen, and finished the whole look with Shade Slick in Marrakesh, my original favorite from Merit, and maybe my most used Merit product of all time, although it has some competition. It adds a wash of moisturizing color, but never looks or feels overdone. Just like all of these products. Such lush, lovely makeup, so polished, but the outcome is never overdone. Merit rarely has sales, but because of this sponsorship, they're offering 15% off of the custom set of products that I used to create this glossy fall look today. The link for that is at the top of the description box underneath this video. And as always, every first order gets a free signature makeup bag, and every order over $40 gets free shipping. Okay, thanks Merit. What a pleasure. And now I'm so excited to talk to you about what I call longevity visualization. Maybe I should come up with a catchier name for it. And if I ever was going to do that, maybe I should have done it before this video. Like this was the time. Now was the time, Hannah. But I've been calling it longevity visualization to myself for so long, and I've actually called it that a couple of times on the channel. Maybe it's catchier than I think it is. You tell me, and tell me if you have a better idea for what we could call it. And here is what it is. I'll talk through it with a scenario. So say you've clicked through an Instagram ad to, we're going with clothing, right? To a garment that allures you strongly. Let's say, what's been alluring me strongly? Let's say it's a hat. Let's say it's a fall or winter hat, kind of like a beanie style hat. So you see it and it really excites you. There's something about it. There's something about it that has caught your eye, made your heart go pitter patter. You've clicked through, you've looked at it for a little while. You're like, I really do want that. I want to spend, let's say it's kind of an expensive beanie. Let's say it's $80. I want to spend $80 on this beanie. I can't wait to wear it right now. You put it in your cart, and right before you act on those impulses, right before you check out, that is when I suggest staying your own hand and employing longevity visualization. If it were me in that moment, I would say to myself, what is this beanie going to look like in a year? And usually my first asking of that question, my first meaning is like physically, what's it going to look like? Just, is it going to hold up? Sometimes I can't answer the question if I'm shopping online without going back and looking at the description of the product and looking at the materials. In the case of a knit beanie, if it's 100% acrylic, for example, it's going to pill, stretch out, and fall apart, especially if it's not a beanie but a sweater or a sweater dress or something. Those acrylic knits do not hold up for more than a couple of months, let alone a year. They're going to look dingy in a year. Sometimes this means looking at the garment care instructions, how do you wash it, and then just thinking through what washing it's going to do to it. A beanie might not get that dirty. You might not need to wash it as many times as you would need to wash a sweater or a shirt. If you're doing longevity visualization with something like a tank top, and it's a bit cheaply made, like it's not super high quality, it's not very structured, going through the thought process of imagining what it's going to look like after you wash it, just thinking through, you're going to get it, you're going to wear it, you're going to need to wash it right away, like within the week, after 1 or 2 wears. I mean, at least that's the case for me after 1 wear with the tank top. So immediately you're going to own not the tank top that you bought, but the tank top that you bought and washed. And then as time goes on, you're only ever going to own the tank top that you've washed 3 times, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 50 times if you keep it for a year or 2 and you wash it a lot. So what's it going to look like in a year after it's been worn for a year, after it's been washed for a year? Then the second meaning, the second thing that I mean when I ask myself what's it going to look like in a year has to do with personal style. Like, where is it likely to be in a year? So going back to the beanie, this question helps me identify whether or not my desire to wear it is momentary, like a flash in the pan, or whether it's like a deep, connected element of my personal style that I'm recognizing in the product. Am I going to still like it in a year? Am I going to still want to wear it in a year? Sometimes when I have something in my shopping cart and I ask myself, where's this going to be in a year? I immediately see it shoved in the back of a drawer with a bunch of stuff piled on top of it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's where it's going to be in a year. Forgotten, crumpled up and forgotten. And it kills the desire to spend those $80. It even kills the desire to get a package in the mail, the desire to have something new. Of course, longevity visualization works in person as well. A lot of us shop online, and I think it can be particularly key online because when you're shopping online, you're doing a lot of fantasizing, which we'll get to in a little bit. But when you're shopping in person, when you're standing in line holding the garment to check out, or when you're wearing it, looking in the dressing room mirror, longevity visualization. Where is this going to be in a year? What's it going to look like in a year? What kind of condition is it going to be in a year? Now, the instructions are pretty simple, right? The act is pretty simple. It's just a matter of remembering to do it when you're considering buying something. Before the rest of the video, I'm going to go through the many different ways in which longevity visualization can help you save money and make better choices. Because I think that talking through all of the directions that your thinking might take when you perform longevity visualization, it will help you kind of form those pathways in your brain and go down them more easily when you are executing this strategy. And I actually have 8 different ways that longevity visualization can help you. So the first thing that it does is it helps you buy fewer, nicer things. Longevity visualization, in my experience, removes the allure from fast fashion, whether it's literal fast fashion, like, you know, again, a tank top from H&M that as soon as you think about it, you realize it's going to fall apart, or something that's fast fashion for you. Like it's not from H&M, so to speak, but it isn't going to have longevity in your life. Even if it's from a thrift store, you know what I mean? Even if it's very sustainable shopping, sometimes it's a quick fix, and thinking about where it's going to be in a year removes the allure of that quick fix. And even if it's not expensive, or again, it's sustainable, if you want fewer, nicer things, then you also want to be discerning in those situations. To me, longevity visualization when clothes shopping, it's like the direct line to fewer, nicer things. It helps me hop off of my like lizard brain must acquire stuff track and onto the fewer, nicer things track. Number 2, longevity visualization helps you to clarify your aesthetic separate from trends. So if you really want to buy something, if you feel the compulsion to buy something today and wear it tomorrow, but then you perform longevity visualization and you actually can't imagine yourself wearing it next year, that shows you that you know yourself better than trends know you, so to speak. And then once you have that clarity, you can empower yourself to shop for yourself instead of shopping for trends. Number 3, similarly, longevity visualization helps you to clarify your aesthetic separate from your fantasy self. If something looks really good on the model online, or even if it looks really good in the store, like in that sort of vacuum of the dressing room in the shop, and you're getting worked up about the idea of buying it, and you're in that headspace where you really see yourself as that girl who wears this sort of thing, sometimes I get into this like fantasy bubble. But then I look forward a year and I see the garment in question languishing in my closet because I know that I actually never wear that type of thing. If you can do that, if you can manage to do that, you've popped that bubble while you're shopping, which is so valuable because you're trying to make good decisions when you're shopping. You're not trying to trick yourself into making bad ones. So then you've seen through the fantasy, and again, you can empower yourself to shop for your real self instead of for your fantasy self. Now, a little bit of disambiguation or a little bit of clarifying. I have a video about the fantasy self and the difference between basically constructive and destructive fantasy. I think fantasies can sometimes be helpful. If you want to be the type of person who wears a certain thing, if you genuinely want to, and you want to commit to that, meaning you want to actually go ahead and acquire the thing and then wear the thing, and then you're going to transform yourself into the type of person who wears that thing, well, acquiring the thing is part of that. But there's a difference between that and just dreaming about it and never actually wearing it. So it's a little bit finer of a line than I think most people acknowledge when they talk about the fantasy self. If you are intrigued by that and you haven't seen that video, click through the link. It'll be in the cards in the description box and get more information. Either way, if you are in the weeds with that kind of decision-making process, trying to discern which one of those paths you are about to start down, longevity visualization is key for you. Number 4, this practice when you're shopping makes you a more sustainable consumer. It just straight up makes you less likely to buy something that's going to fall apart within a year and end up in a landfill within a year or two. It is just kind of the entire shape of things with this, and it is perfectly aligned with the goals of those of us who are trying to be more sustainable. Number 5, it also helps you look better. Longevity visualization helps you look better all the time. It helps you look better every time you get dressed because it keeps you from buying things that will get grimy and unstructured really quickly. And I think a lot of us, we will buy something in the store that looks super polished, but if we don't manage to go through the thought experiment of how it's going to look after we wash it, for example, or how it's going to look in just a couple of months, and then it immediately becomes a very sad, limp, grimy version of itself, we'll just keep wearing it. Even if we would never have bought the grimy, limp version, never have paid that amount, never have brought it into our lives. It's like once you've paid the amount and brought it into your life, then it starts to disintegrate really quickly, but you just like keep wearing it because you made the investment, because you don't have time to find something new or the willpower to find something new. And it just makes you not just look bad, but like feel bad all the time when you wear it. So many of us are caught in this cycle. I did make a whole video about why you might be feeling frumpy a lot in your clothes. This is like the classic problem of frumpiness that comes from clothes that don't hold up over time for one reason or another. If you feel like you have a hard time making those calls about clothes that you're considering when you're shopping, definitely watch that video. It's very informative and designed to support that process. Number 6, longevity visualization when you're shopping helps you plan better and take better care of your clothes because it makes you consciously realize what you will need to do going forward to take care of your clothes to keep them looking and feeling good. And if you know that you're making that investment of time, of a certain kind of time before you buy a thing, you're like going in not just with your money, but with your time, you're more likely to follow through on taking care of the thing. So this could be depilling if it's a sweater that needs to be depilled, hand washing, hang drying, those kinds of things. I actually covered some of this in that video about frumpiness too. So you're buying this impeccable sweater, you really love it, and then you think about what it's going to look like in a year and you think, oh, it's probably going to have some pills. Because, you know, even a 100% wool sweater and definitely a cashmere sweater will get some pills, but those pills can be removed and it'll look as good as new. But you think about it and you think, yeah, okay, a year from now I'm going to have to depill this sweater. So make sure you have a depiller, make sure you're prepared to do that, and make sure you're willing to do that before you buy the thing. And if you are willing and you do buy the thing, then again, you're more likely to do it rather than to go around wearing a pilly sweater. And kind of an extension of that, number 7, longevity visualization keeps you from being disappointed and surprised by the way that your clothes change and evolve naturally over time, even your really nice clothes. It keeps you from being disappointed in the reality of the thing that you buy. Clothes online look wrinkle-free all the time, sitting perfectly on the lines of the body, just like paper doll clothes. And I think that this thing happens when we are buying clothes. They look really good online, or even in the store, they look really good. When I don't do longevity visualization, I always sort of have this fantasy that I'm buying a paper doll garment, like something that's going to be perfect forever. It's going to retain the perfection of its newness forever, even though hundreds of times I've bought clothes and had it turn out that they're actually just made of cloth, that they have wrinkles and they get pills and they drape in the way of cloth. I know that that's what happens, but it's just you buy into the fantasy because the world of sales is designed to sell us fantasies, you know, so it's hard to resist. And we want to believe that the fantasy is real. And there's some disappointment that can go along with that. If you think that you're buying something that's going to be impeccable forever and it turns out that it's just a piece of clothing similar to all of your other clothing, again, a piece of cloth, your relationship with your clothes go from this kind of hopeful bubble to a kind of settling. Whereas if you're buying something and you're an active longevity visualizer, then you know that you're buying the real thing. This is sort of a subtle thing. I hope that I'm articulating it well. You're standing in the checkout line with like this beautifully pressed, impeccable looking garment, but you know, because you're smart and you've watched this video and you're doing longevity visualization, you know that that's not actually what you're buying. You're buying the thing that it's going to be after you've worn it a couple times. You're buying what it's going to turn into in the future. You buy that gladly instead of buying the impeccable version and then feeling like you're going to be disappointed as it gets a little bit softer around the edges. Use your brilliant mind to buy the future version of the thing you're holding, and then the relationship with it will be one of kind of developing joy and positivity. You will have more open connection to your clothes and feel better in them. Oh wait, I kind of got into number 8. So number 8, the 8th thing on the list, the last thing on the list, it's kind of what I was just saying, but also sort of a deepening of what I was just saying. Longevity visualization, it guides your relationship with your clothes towards one of acceptance of reality rather than stress about reality. So yeah, the practice of accepting the imperfect and evolving nature of fabric, shape, drape, fit, accepting the fact that you can't fight the reality of those things. It also kind of has an effect on the way that you feel about yourself inside of your clothes, because those things are so closely connected. So it's a way of working towards being, let's say, a holistic dresser, someone who's at peace with the shape of things, rather than someone who is always striving against the impermanent and imperfect nature of bodies and clothes. And that just adds a low level of stress to your life all the time. For me, longevity visualization has been a major key, maybe the key to long-term contentment with my wardrobe, especially with the clothes that I'm wearing day to day, the outfits that I'm putting together day to day. So that's longevity visualization. Those are the many ways, the 8 ways in which it can help you in a very practical and some of them kind of profound way. It's one of these things that I've mentioned here and there, but have integrated so deeply into my personal practice of deciding what I want to add to my wardrobe. I felt like I needed to come back and make a whole entire video about it because it's so powerful and it's so much a part of what makes me feel more capable now of making good decisions when I'm shopping than I ever was before. I hope this has been helpful and enjoyable to you. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.